Los Angeles is a city built as much for cars as it is for people. The metro area is crisscrossed by freeways, acres upon acres are paved for parking, and even its most famous form of housing, the dingbat, is designed for cars first. So this may be surprising. It's a new plaza in the Sunset neighborhood in LA. They added some bollards, some paints, a few tables and chairs, and you have a more humane space meant for people and not cars. This plaza was installed as a part of the LADOT's People Street program. Neighborhood partners work in concert with city staff to deploy these low-cost yet stylish little plazas. There are 4 of these in the LA area, with a couple more in the planning stages. Los Angeles isn't alone in this. There's been an increase in car lanes being repurposed for pedestrians happening all over the United States. It started before COVID, but now there are hundreds of temporary plazas in cities all over thanks to indoor dining restrictions. These plazas are becoming popular as cities see the value in dedicating more space to pedestrians. The plazas can host farmers markets and act as traffic calming all at the same time. This video was a fun tour of some of these new plazas, as well as a discussion about the best practices in creating them. The United States, and LA specifically, is still a long way from giving up the car, but these plazas are a step in the right direction. So let's go on our tour after the bike bell. So there's no sponsor for today's video, but I am going to ask you for something. I'm a professor at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I study plazas like this one. And I need your help identifying plazas like this across the United States. So if you know of one, go click on the link in the description and tell me about it, or listen for more instructions at the end of the video. Thank you so much for your help. Like I said, LA isn't the only city making these new pedestrian plazas. So let's start a tour at the top of the population chart, New York City. New York is the biggest city in the United States and fittingly has one of the largest plaza programs. The New York Department of Transportation has successfully installed 73 neighborhood plazas in the city, spread across its 5 boroughs. No matter where you are, a public plaza is less than 10 minutes away, making New York City's plaza program accessible and popular among New Yorkers and tourists alike. I say tourists because the most prominent and popular public plaza is Times Square, the crossroads of the world. About 500,000 people walk through this area each day, making it one of the busiest public plazas in not just the country, but in the entire world. While this plaza is now permanent with new paving and seating, it started out much the same way as LA's People Streets, with paint and temporary bollards. I remember living in New York in 2005 and 2006 and actively avoiding Times Square because there were just too many people on the sidewalks to get anywhere quickly. This plaza is a major improvement in favor of pedestrians, the dominant transportation mode here. There's another great plaza just down Broadway, Herald Square. This public space right in front of the iconic Macy's department store is a popular stop for those looking to take a break. A simple arrangement of tables, chairs, and benches is sufficient to revitalize this space and make it usable for people. It's worth noting that a lot of Manhattan's best public spaces are when a diagonal street, like Broadway, intersects avenues on the grid. Grids, when spiced up with a diagonal boulevard or two, can really make for a lovely street pattern. The triangles of additional space they create are great for pedestrian plazas. You'll see lots of public plazas in these awkward intersections because sometimes it makes more sense for traffic flow just to kick the cars out. If your community is looking to add more pedestrian spaces, awkward intersections are a good place to start. Now, let's head up the Northeast Corridor to Boston, home of the Tactical Public Realm Initiative. One stunning plaza created through this initiative is Tontine Crescent, located in the heart of Boston. This is a great example of not only repurposing space from cars, but also restoring a previous plaza to at least some of its former glory. They conducted a survey of plaza users and found that 77% were at least somewhat satisfied with the plaza, and 82% wanted it to remain permanent. You can't get 82% of city dwellers to agree on much of anything, so this is a good result. Boston, like other cities implementing plazas, need to consider how access to neighboring businesses will change as a result of the plaza installation. Here you can see the City of Boston's plan for parking, demonstrating how parking and loading zones for businesses will be retained. This may seem like a detail to you, but to business owners, parking and loading zones are integral to their survival. Good plaza programs get buy-in from nearby businesses, and this is a great example of how to do that. Now let's leave the East Coast and head west toward the great city of Seattle. Their Pavement to Parks initiative has been particularly successful in reclaiming car-oriented residential streets and turning them into fun and colorful parks for the children of the neighborhood. One specific project in Rainier Vista used a street mural and bollards that look like adorable putting greens to indicate the space is meant for pedestrians. Permanent plaza programs cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to design and implement. This Seattle example, as well as many of the others in this video, are examples of tactical urbanism. Tactical urbanism is defined as low-cost, temporary changes to the urban environment. They're sort of a proof of concept that can lead to more investment and a permanent installation later on. Okay, Let's head to a different region of the country, down south. Let's check out Atlanta's recent project, the Broad Street Pedestrian Plaza. This boardwalk is a $500,000 investment in downtown aimed at revitalizing an otherwise redundant space. The design is somewhat unique. It's a boardwalk-style wooden deck for pedestrians to access nearby restaurants and social events. This wooden deck has a couple of advantages. While not as quick and as easy as paint, the wooden platform can be adjusted or remodeled easily with basic tools. The wood is also a very clear signal that cars do not belong here. Paint can be ignored, but it's harder for drivers to ignore this. The designers of this boardwalk, just as designers for all pedestrian spaces, had to ensure that the plazas meet the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Under this law, all sidewalks and public pedestrian spaces must be made accessible for people of all abilities. The wood decking was designed to be at curb height, so people can move from the sidewalk to the boardwalk with no gap or dip. Great for accessibility. Now let's end our tour back in Los Angeles to talk about how these programs can be structured. Many of these programs operate as a partnership between the city and a neighborhood organization or business improvement district. In LA, the city provides a kit of parts. This includes the street itself, paint or other decorative surfaces, signage, and the planters or other elements that define the plaza space. The community partner then provides furnishings, like tables and chairs, and agrees to maintain the plaza. Long-term plaza maintenance is a substantial commitment for a community partner. They have to regularly clean up litter, empty trash cans, and maintain the tables and chairs. LADOT rejects many of the plaza program applications that come in, many because the community partner doesn't have the long-term capacity to maintain the space. These plaza programs just don't work if both partners aren't in it for the long haul. All the pedestrian plazas shown in this video, including this one behind me, were built before the COVID-19 pandemic. These plaza programs help cities prepare their outdoor dining programs and temporary plaza programs that help businesses survive the pandemic. It's also a really cool time for me because some of those temporary plazas have the possibility of becoming permanent ones in the future, something like this here. But as a researcher, I always want to know how much progress are we making? And are there innovative designs out there that we just don't know about yet? That's why I'm creating an inventory of all of the pedestrian spaces created from streets like this one around the United States. With this accounting, we can better understand what the effect of COVID will have on the provision of public spaces. So this is where you come in. I've created a form, and I put a link to it down in the description, where you can go and fill out information about plazas that you know about in your community. Don't be shy, you can fill it out as many times as you need, and all you really need to tell us is where the plaza is in your community. Me and my team of research assistants, Tim and Nishita, will take that information, verify it, and input it into our database. For those of you who watched previous videos of mine, you might know that I've already created a database of pedestrian malls from the post-war era, so I have some experience doing this type of cataloging. But the research we do here about new pedestrian plazas might inspire more cities to install them, which could help us end car dependency in the United States little by little. Thank you so much again for your help.